Hello and welcome back everyone. It's Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what the story is about today. Yes, we do have a pretty interesting story today. In this story, OP says, 3 years is a long time, but she finally got what she deserves. And now let's listen to the original story narrated by Troy. Here is the backstory.
In 2014, we had been together for a little over 8 years, married for 6. After supporting her through college to become a teacher, she went through a horrible first year, as teachers often do. I remember her saying she never wanted to teach again. I tried to convince her not to give up after spending 6 years of school over one bad year. It turned into an argument, and finally, after years of supporting her, I lost my cool. Fine, give up on it then. But you have to work. We can't make it on one income. After a few months, she found a job paying well below what she made as a teacher. I thought this was behind us and that we were getting by just fine.
Now here is the first big blow in OP's life.
Then my dad passed away. My parents divorced when I was 12, and he was never really around. He was diagnosed with heart failure and sadly had a time clock on his life at that point. My dad was taken off life support and was given hours. It was absolute pain. I was a complete mess. He left his kids a pile of debt to deal with. Naturally, you can assume I wasn't the most pleasant person to be around. I was struggling with this problem, and while I was angry, I was still grieving my father.
Now hear how my wife's affair started.
Fast forward a few years to the winter of 2017. A mutual friend and chair of our local NerdCon puts out on Facebook that he's getting a divorce because his wife cheated on him. My ex happened to be in the neighborhood and stopped by to talk to him. I'm convinced this is when the relationship started. I found it a little strange. She stayed there for 5 hours, but I am a trusting person and believed her account of them just talking. The months go by, and she is talking to him more and more. I am getting a bit bothered by it, and I express that her talking to him is starting to make me uncomfortable. This gets downplayed as me being paranoid. I had the right to be. I remember once she went behind my back to have a talk with an ex before we got married, saying she needed closure.
Last weekend of April 2018, I'm on a business trip to Vancouver, BC.
She tells me since she is home alone, she is going to go out on a totally platonic date with this guy. I am not happy about it, knowing this guy is vulnerable and it's just not a good idea. She goes anyway. At the time, we had GPS on our phones in an effort to curb text messaging while driving, so if either one was concerned, they could check the GPS tracker and see that we were on our way home. Out of paranoia, I asked if she is home, and she says yes, so I check GPS and notice that she is still out. I tell her I know she is still out and to please go home as it is late. She gets angry and doesn't talk to me the rest of the night. I try to work through the next day. She says she's going over to his house again. I am angry at this point and implore her not to go over there, that this guy is vulnerable and I am worried he is going to make a pass at her. She gets angry and shuts off her GPS tracker.
Well, today's the day I'm coming back home.
Sunday rolls around and I'm on a flight home and she is suddenly all cutesy. My alarm bells are going off like crazy in my head. Something is wrong. She was supposed to pick me up and I find her on the couch asleep. A week of weirdness goes by, and I am being gaslighted into feeling like I was being overly possessive and paranoid. I find out that she only kissed him after a long, heartfelt conversation, and that she is feeling like our marriage isn't worth saving. I spend 2 days trying everything I can to fix things. She decides to take the dog for a walk, and out of a moment of ultimate suspicion, I log into her tablet and open her email. That's where I found the undying profession of love to this guy and how she wants to leave me. I am absolutely crushed. The room starts spinning and I completely lose it. I call her and tell her that I know. She rushes home and I ask her flat out, "Do you want to be with him?" She said, "I think I do." It is at this point I fly into an absolute madness. I tell her I can't be near her right now and I need to leave. I go get a hotel room for the night. It is at this point she leaves and goes to his place to spend the night. Knowing she left the dog, I check out and go home to take care of our pup. Even though it was completely over, I lay out all our photos of us from the last 11 years on the kitchen table.
Well, what do you think? It's time to have a talk, right?
She comes home, and I make her sit and look at the pictures, and asked if she wants to throw away 11 years for someone she hardly knows. What she said in response is something that took me years to get over. "You are messed up. OM has his life together," says she needs time to decide, and leaves.
How could she say something like that after being together for 11 years?
I sit there, crushed. I notice she left her tablet on the counter. Temptation got the better of me, and I opened her messages. She's saying, "I'm waiting for you in bed."
Well, OP, I believe at this point your marriage is over.
I called her and told her to come get her stuff. It will be ready for her when she comes by to pick it up. My brother, bless him, I owe him my life, helps me stack up all her stuff on the front porch to pick up. Now, I know I could have handled it better. Hindsight is 20/20, but the woman that I adored, made sacrifices for, did everything could do to keep her happy, had just left me for another man. She immediately moves in with him, changes her cell phone plan from mine to his, and this idiot goes to the convention that I was part of the staff for and proclaims his love and that if anybody doesn't support them, they are kicked out. I am naturally banned from the convention. So, not only did I lose my wife, I also lost my friends that I thought had my back. The convention takes place, she is fully moved in with him at that point, and plasters pictures all over Facebook, her hanging all over him.
Well, it looks like everything is working out for her.
Meanwhile, while she is off on trips and flaunting her new relationship, I am pulling favors from family and what little friends I have left to move things out of her house and get out before the lease ends. Anytime I demanded help, she had some excuse. To make matters worse, even work wasn't safe. She started a new job the week she left at the same place I was working. Over the course of that summer, I lost a ton of weight.
Well, she announces that the marriage is over.
While I spent my birthday alone, she was off showing her new man to her family, who dropped me like a bad habit and welcomed him with open arms. I tried several times during that summer to reason with her, to implore her to get out of that relationship and set out on her own. It was then she explained to me how she fell out of love with me after my dad passed. She knew I was grieving, but she had needs too, and I stopped paying attention to her. During one of the last times I spoke to her, she tried coming on to me, and I stopped it. I got angry and told her that this is not the Notebook and to grow up. As a final duck you, she decides to take the OM on a trip that we had planned together to Ireland and England, the place where my family came from in the 1900s. At this point, I had blocked her and anyone associated with her on social media, so thankfully, I didn't see the trip plastered all over the place. Shortly after that, I finalized the divorce paperwork on my own, and it was done. I haven't spoken to her in person since. 1 or 2 emails to settle some accounts, but other than that, she uses her parents as a proxy if there's something she needs. I exercise no contact with her and anyone associated with her. All her excuses were baseless and not a justification for infidelity. I learned, all in all, I have good coping skills, and I did my best given the circumstances. I began working on being a better person and trying to let go of all this horrible, awful mess. Taking time for self-reflection, self-care, etc.
OP is finally moving on.
First step I made for myself was getting out of that work environment. Seeing her constantly and working in the same office as her and several of her friends was hurtful. I landed a great job back in my hometown. I learned she married the guy this summer about 3 months after he divorced his wife. Yeah, took him 3 years to divorce his ex, but was living with another woman. From what I gather, she is incredibly skinny, looks tired all the time, and doesn't go anywhere without his permission. The hardest thing for me is losing our dog in the divorce. She got her. A few times, she tried using the dog as an excuse to see me. It was a painful decision, but I had to end that too. Thankfully, 2018 had a silver lining. I got a puppy. She is 2 now and is the best dog I have ever had. Since leaving the rubble of the life we built together, I got to reconnect with my family. My mom commented that she got her son back. I finally learned to love myself again after so many years of feeling like I was the reason our marriage fell apart.
Well, we have a short update coming up next, but before that, if you're enjoying the story so far, please give a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel.
I have seen far too many people get away with awful things with seemingly no consequences. I gave up on waiting for it to happen to my ex because it wasn't helping me get to a better place mentally or emotionally.
Well, karma had its way with his ex-wife.
Then, I spotted her in the crowd at a brewfest. I almost did not recognize her. She looks awful. Whatever's going on with the sad sack of mess she left me for and married must be taking its toll. She is real thin. Looks like one of those people at the gym that is so obsessed with being fit, but they look exhausted and dried up. A stark contrast from the woman who she used to be. She is 33 and easily looks 10 years older. By instinct, I looked away and avoided eye contact. From what my brother says, she clapped eyes on us both waiting in line for a beer. Later, I am catching up with old friends that had my back during the whole thing. I learned that she and her AP, now husband, are really struggling financially. The convention he rules with an iron fist and kicked me out of, along with anyone who spoke out against him, is being investigated by the IRS, and that many of the people around them are seeing them for the harmful couple they really are. My response to hearing the news about how rough she looks or how her life seems to be floating in the toilet? She did this to herself.
We have reached to the end of the story. Well, OP, what I can say is, living your best life is the best revenge. Please like, comment and share the story if you enjoyed it. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you will be notified when we upload the next video. Take care.